Hey everyone, it's Stephanie Kennedy here at Lazy Parenting. I wanted to come on today. I haven't really shared many tips and tricks in the last couple of days. I kind of took a little bit of a detox off of social media, but here I am and I wanted to share some things. A friend of mine posted an article on Facebook this weekend talking about teenagers, children in general actually, and the increased rates that we're seeing in anxiety and stress that we're seeing with kids. And the top 10 reasons that this article found through research that is perhaps causing that. So I wanted to share with you two of them tonight because I think they're really important and I think they give us something as parents to think about. Okay, so number one has to do with technology. And yes, it is the reason that if you saw my stories yesterday, I made my kids go on a technology detox for about 4 or 5 hours yesterday afternoon because I read this article and I was like, gotta think about this. So what is the link? The link is the amount of time that our kids are on technology, on screens, and the access that they have. Perhaps one of the things, not perhaps, what it is doing is it is not allowing our children to deal with the everyday normal mental stress and anxiety that comes from being bored, from not having anything to do, from being stressed out. Them having phones allows them in the car when they're bored to be playing video games, when you send them to the room to be able to text their friend, to have instant access to people in their lives, which can be a good thing, but also can cause them to depend on others instead of finding that strength or finding the ability to handle everyday stresses by themselves, right? The other part of this that really scares me is I had posted a link to an article on my Facebook page that talked about parents who took their phones away from their teenage daughter. And then that sparked a conversation around appropriate use of the phone, access that their friends had to her. And what actually came out from that daughter was her, she was so scared to not have her phone by her bed at night because she had a friend who was telling her she was suicidal and that she wanted to have access to their daughter in case something went wrong. And that just really breaks my heart that this young teenager was feeling that kind of pressure and dealing with that kind of stress and turmoil and feeling that type of responsibility to her friend. Just, that's not right. Yeah, we want our kids to be great friends, but it is not their job to be counselor when things go that way to their friends and to be accessible 24 hours a day, nor should she have felt that way. And that article just really hit me in the heart as another reason that I will keep advocating to all of you and to you as parents to not let your kids have their phones in their bedroom. But that is another topic. Hey, so I said I would share point number 2 from the article that I got off of a friend. And that is this belief that our kids need to be happy all the time. And that we as parents are so uncomfortable with letting our kids be unhappy. And that's actually going to cause them a whole bunch of non-healthy behaviors and stuff. If they don't ever realize that being sad, being mad, being angry, being discontent, any of those sorts of things, frustrated, that they're not going to learn the self-coping skills. Again, it goes to that's going to create anxiety and anxious behaviors because when they get those feelings, which are totally normal and absolutely something that's going to happen to them, they're not going to know how to react. They're not going to have any coping skills on how to deal with those emotions. So that's tip number 2. So we as parents have to be really careful about that. We have to let our kids struggle. We have to let them be unhappy. We have to let them be mad. We have to let them be angry. We have to let them get frustrated. We have to let them get bored. We have to get them, feeling all of those kinds of not happy feelings so that they can, learn how to handle them. Okay, here we go. Reason number 3, why maybe our teenagers and kids are more stressed out and anxious than ever before. Number 3 falls on our shoulders, us as parents, and our feeling and need to give our children unrealistic praise. Meaning, you're so smart, you're the smartest kid in class, or wow, you're the best soccer player on the field, or wow, you're the best cheerleader on the team, or wow, you have the nicest this or that. Giving our kids praise that is undeserved is actually really harming to our children because they know how good they are at something. This idea that our children don't know where they rank, whether it's in their class, whether it's in their sport, whether it's in band, whatever. Our kids have a pretty good idea of where they rank in their peer group in regards to all of those things. And when we tell them that they are number one or they're the best, they're like, no, I'm not, Mom. And then they feel an immense pressure to live up to those expectations that we have on them. And the reality is they're not. They're probably not the best. Even if they're the best in their little tiny circle, they are not the best in the world. That's the facts. That's just the reality, you guys. We have to give our kids a realistic self-view. So I will share with you an example of how we deal with this in our house. So we're lucky. We have kids that do pretty well in school. They seem to do pretty well in sports, hold their own. However, we make sure we set them up or put them in experiences where they can see where they rank in reality to the best of the best. So yes, they might win their elementary school track meet and come first in the 1K run. But what we've done as a family is we've made sure we've registered them in the provincial championships. So they run against those kids that are training and really are the top in their grade so that they get a reality about where they are in all of that. And I think it's important to always keep the global perspective, even for us, right? We may be big fish in our little pond, but are they the big fish in the bigger pond? Gotta have some reality. Now, that doesn't mean you're not raising them up and you're making them know that with hard work and perseverance and patience and persistence that they could achieve great things. But I think it's important that they have perspective. Okay, reason number 4 is all you crazy parents who pay for extra sports training, who pay for extra SAT prep courses, who are your kids' personal secretaries, making sure their resumes are up to date, making sure that they're out volunteering at things, making sure that they're doing all those things that you think are important in order for them to grab that college scholarship or for them to get to the college that you think that they should be going to. All that crazy parent behavior is causing them stress and anxiety and telling them that unless they can meet your expectations of them, and unless they land that spot at college or land that job that you think they should have, or that career, or study those courses, that they are going to fail you if they don't do what you want them to do. You need to flip it. That's causing tremendous stress and anxiety. If you're led by your child and they want to do it and they're asking you for help, it's your job as the parent to give them perspective about what they can be doing, what's healthy, what's not healthy, what is a reasonable expectation for them to put on themselves considering all the things they do. If they are into a whole bunch of sports, are they going to be getting 100% in all of their classes? Do they even need 100% in all of their classes? What is reasonable expectations for them? So reason number 4 is all crazy parents who are their kids' personal secretaries, putting unrealistic expectations on your kids. Okay, and so here we are, number 5, for why our teenagers are feeling more stressed and more anxious and suffering from anxiety than ever before. So number 5 is that they're just feeling they're not feeling emotionally prepared. So this article cites a survey that was given. 60% of our kids that are going off to college are feeling emotionally unprepared. What does that mean, right? That they're saying that? What is it that they're feeling that they can't handle? They don't know how to handle the stress. They don't know how to handle the workload. They don't know how to handle having a roommate. They don't know how to handle the stress of their day and how that all comes together. Right? We got to think about that. If 60% of our kids are saying they're feeling emotionally unprepared, not academically, not in other ways, but they're worried about their emotional state going off to college. What can we do as their parents to help make sure that we're teaching them the coping skills? I think you see a theme through all of these things, which is a big piece of this, is self-awareness. Are our teenagers and kids learning self-awareness, learning how to cope, learning how to manage emotions, stress, time management, sadness, anger, all of those sorts of things? So that's number 5. I'm loving the feedback that I'm getting. I've gotten lots of messages today from people saying that some of the stuff that we're talking about today and yesterday is hitting home. So if you're loving it, make sure you send it to a friend. I would love you to share. The more we have a part of this community, the more we all can learn and the more we all can share. Okay, have a great night. Hey, good morning, everybody. Okay, so number 6 is an interesting one. This one really resonates with me. And it is that parents nowadays perhaps have changed their view in regards to how they see their children and their role in their children's lives. And that view has changed from being their guide in life to being their protector in life. Meaning that, like, we don't want to see our kids, well, they're protectors. We don't want to see them hurt. We don't want to see them sad. We don't want to see them angry. We want them to have as few emotional scars as possible. Maybe that comes from us and our lives. Like, I got a lot of scars from my life. Like, there was a lot of crap that I went through as a teenager. And I think that's why this resonates with me a lot when I think about my own children. And really, my number one goal is that they do not go through the shit that I went through as a kid and as a teenager. And so I think a lot of my parenting decisions have been around that. In a little bit of a different way as protector, those decisions that I'm making are actually things that I think are going to protect them, but are actually making some pretty strict decisions around what they're allowed to do, what access they have to different things, all of that. So, thinking about that, and that our goal or our job as parents is to be their guide through life, that they do have to suffer disappointment, they do have to suffer sadness, they do have to suffer hurt and anxiety and all of these things in their life, and our job is to help guide them through that, but not necessarily protect them, because again, all of those scars that I have from the stuff that I've gone through have made me the woman who I am today, which I'm pretty proud of. So it's an interesting one to think about. Okay, tip number 7 is around balance with parents knowing how to teach their children to face their fears in the correct way. So you could have 2 ends of the spectrum. One are parents who totally push their kids out into uncomfortable situations all the time, just throw them out there and say, you can do it. And then on the other end of the spectrum are the parents who don't really let their children try anything new. I don't want to say baby them, but yeah, kind of baby them and keep them protected and don't make them do anything that's uncomfortable for them. And so really we want to find a place in the middle. The pushing them out there is only going to cause more stress and more anxiety. But are there ways that you can slowly expose your child to things that they're uncomfortable with, and expose them again and again in gentle sort of little ways, so that they learn that they're capable, they'll learn that it's okay to be uncomfortable, but that if they go through with it, everything's going to be okay. And even if it's not okay, that they learn, the resiliency to bounce back from that. So again, really trying to find the middle ground on that one as parents, to make sure that we're quote unquote, forcing them to try new things, but not just expecting them to be able to jump out there and do something that totally scares them and causes them huge anxiety and stress. Hey, hello there. Okay, so I've got to get going here. I've got 8, 9, and 10 to get through today. So tip number 8 is parenting out of guilt and fear. So parenting's hard, right? It's really hard, and it's hard to really come to terms. Like, it brings up all kinds of baggage from our own childhood and the way we were parented. And often what ends up happening is that we as parents, when we get into conversations or when we get into situations with our kids is it brings up emotions in us from our childhood. And then we end up parenting and making decisions out of either guilt. We feel guilty. We didn't get, often as parents, we want our children to have more than we had. So we will feel guilty if we don't let them have something that they want, or we want to provide them with the best. And so then we're making decisions out of guilt instead of living in that guilt and really analyzing it, because we ourselves are scared of that guilt feeling or that fear feeling. We don't want to deal with those feelings ourselves. We don't want to be burdened with the guilt. We don't want to be burdened with the fear and have our own self-coping mechanisms to deal with that anxiety in us, that we then give in and we give the children what they want, or we're fearful of things, so we don't let them do things that they should be, which are natural, normal, risky behaviors that our kids need to go through in order to grow. I hope that makes sense. That was a lot. So we as parents are parenting out of our own guilt and fear, so feelings that we have, and we're using them to guide our parenting instead of us dealing with our own feelings from our own childhood, our own guilt feelings, our own fear about the world or about what's going on, and we're putting that on our children. I hope that makes sense. So just to clarify with number 8, the reason why that causes stress and anxiety in our teenagers is because if we ourselves as parents are struggling with emotions, we're teaching our children that those emotions are emotions to be avoided, that we ourselves can't handle the guilt or the fear or difficult conversations or difficult decisions. And by us not modeling being able to handle that, by hiding from those feelings, we're then modeling that to our kids. And then our kids don't want to have any of those feelings in their lives either. And then that causes stress and anxiety. So that's how number 8 all wraps up together. Okay, number 9, that this article that I've been sort of summarizing this week talks about why our teens are facing so much more stress and anxiety than ever before. So number 9 goes to the point of kids not having enough time to play, free play time. So not organized sports, but actual just time in the community, like in your neighborhood. Like, do you live in a neighborhood where the kids are out playing kick the can? That shows you how old I am. Playing kick the can, or hide and go seek, or let's hope not Nicky Nicky Nine Doors, if you know what that one is. But are they out playing hide and go seek, playing games with the neighborhood kids? And are they within that learning the skills on how to manage disputes, the hierarchy of how you all get along, how you all follow the rules, how you handle things that might be coming up when you do that, right? Like, those are life skills that our kids should be learning through free play, whether that's free play with neighborhood kids, with their friends, learning how to handle that. Now, to be honest, in my family, my kids are really busy. They all really enjoy sports, and so they play a lot of organized sports. But I'm going to claim that having 4 kids, because I got 4 of them, that those lessons of playing and hierarchy and how to handle disputes and all of that happens naturally in my house, because they all have to get along. And like I said, I'm the OG lazy parent, so I try not to get involved as much as I can. And I'm really lucky too, in our neighborhood, when they were young, they were allowed to go outside. And I was lucky there was a neighborhood group of kids that all did play hide and go seek and rode their bikes up and down the street and got together and played that way in a free play kind of time. Now that they're older, that happens less, but yeah, so I agree with the article on that one. Free play being a really important time. And the second part of that is solitary play. So how many opportunities does your child have in their day, in their week, for them to play by themselves? Whether that's in their room, or I don't know if you let your kid outside by themselves, but do they know how to keep themselves entertained? Because again, when they grow up and they go off to college, or when they're teenagers and adults, we have to know how to be alone, right? And how to use that time without getting anxious of being alone. I love alone time, so this isn't an issue for me, but I know for some people, they do not like to be alone. They need to be out and around with people. And so why is that? And what skills do they learn if they play by themselves in order to learn how to manage their emotions, learn how to manage boredom, all of those sorts of things? So that's the second part of that question. So again, number 9 was about kids not having enough time to have free play, whether that's with groups of friends or whether that's all by themselves. And that without those skills that they're learning through that, they're causing themselves to be more anxious and more stressed out because they don't know how to do that. Okay, so number 10 reason is that family hierarchies nowadays are all out of whack. Who is in charge in the family? Like, really? And that even though teenagers give the impression that they want to be in charge and that they want to be the boss of things, they don't really. And so while we're trying to teach our teenagers how to make good decisions and things like that, when it comes down to it, it's really important that in the family they know who is in charge. They want to know that their parents are capable of making the tough decisions, of holding them accountable, that they need to know the boundaries, because if you have a teenager, you know that their entire existence is around pushing those boundaries to see how far they can go. And often if those boundaries are too flexible or inconsistent or, don't make sense to them, then that can cause huge amounts of stress and anxiety in their life. So that's number 10.